Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the baseball podcast. I am your co-host, Tom Quirk, and I'm here with Ethan Pachersky. Ethan, you have a few words for our loving fans.
Do I have some words for our adoring fan base? I would like to say hello. I hope you're all doing well. Tom, how is your Phillies fandom doing? My fandom's not doing too well.
Well, I would say that they're off to a little bit of a rocky start.
They are.
Taking 2 out of 3 from the A's is, I mean, a win's a win, but the
Two
A's
wins
are
are two
terrible.
wins.
That's true. Yeah, 2 wins are 2 wins. The
You
A's are terrible.
You know what it is? You know what it is? Because I just realized I wrote an article earlier, right, a couple weeks ago about how I'm grateful for the Phillies because they're trying, and I stand by every word.
That is still true. That's
One thing, it is
no
at
holes in
100% still true, and I'm not bummed out. Like I think the Phillies, they got plenty of time to turn around. I'm not, you know what I mean? I don't know if they will or they won't. But they got plenty of time to turn around. I don't love Joe Girardi. And I think I forgot about that during this offseason. I think I didn't have as much of an opinion because the Phillies weren't particularly good during his reign until now.
They've been very like, oh, yeah, they're going to be 500 this year.
I really dislike how old school he is. I don't like that he constantly plays Johan Camargo over Alec Bohm. Like, you have to give Alec Bohm a chance.
Right.
I don't like he loves his veterans like Ronald Torreyes last year. You know what I mean?
Oh, Ronald Torreyes. I'm sure he's a great guy, and I actually
sure he's
like
a very
Ronald
nice
Torreyes. But Ronald Torreyes got entirely too much playing time last year.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't love Joe Girardi. You know what it is?
Mm.
I don't like that it seems like fielding is the most important thing in his mind. Fielding is a very important part of the game. I want everyone to be able to field. Alec Bowman, a three error night, and then he sat him the next 2 days. First of all, he's 25 and he's a former top prospect. You got to give him playing time. Second of all, you're playing Johan Camargo.
And dude, I don't actually mind Johan Camargo that much.
No, he's fine. He's fine.
Johan Camargo, you know why you play Johan Camargo on this team is if you trade Alec Bohm.
Right.
That's why Johan Camargo becomes like this.
I like Johan Camargo. He's a very nice bench piece.
Yeah.
And I want to say apologies to the Johan Camargo estate. I'm sure he's a very nice guy. One of the few Panamanians in Major League Baseball right now. Mm-hmm. But I don't love that Johan Camargo now seems to be a starting player over Alec Bohm. I feel like that was entirely too fast.
Yeah. The Phillies, I don't know what it is. And I might be making this up a little bit, but in my experience, the Phillies tend to not really wait for prospects to get good, which is a little bit of a problem because the Phillies do not develop talent well at all.
Nope.
So they are not like the Angels or like the Nationals or the Padres who are bringing up these rookies.
The Angels
who are really good right off the bat. And what I mean is like Trout, yeah. Like there are increasingly guys who come up and are just amazing right out of the gate.
Right, the Phillies
like Soto and like Trout was like that. Tatis was like that kind of guy. The Phillies don't develop that.
Nope.
So they get more like old school prospects who need more seasoning to start to unlock that potential, and they are not having it. They're like, nope, yeah, he had a couple of bad games. He struck out a couple times. Send him back.
Right.
Back down to AAA, and then they trade him, and then they become good on a different team. This is kind of the Phillies' MO, and it looks like they might be shaping up to do this with Bohm. I hope they don't do it with Bohm, and a little bit more urgently, I hope they don't do it with Bryson Stott.
Yeah. Because now one thing that happened recently with Alec Bohm, and I think this is a cool baseball story, is he had a 3-error night. He had 3 errors in the first 2 or 3 innings. It was rough. He looked like, you know what I mean? He was a statue at third base.
It was a bad game.
It was a bad game. You know what I mean? It wasn't like he got a couple of bad hops. He just played poorly. But that's okay. That kind of thing happens. You know what I mean? They ended up winning the game anyway. Alec Bohm had a bad night, and he started getting booed, right?
Mm-hmm.
In Philadelphia, that kind of thing happens.
Yeah, that happens to everybody in Philadelphia.
He got booed, and then he botched 3 balls in the first 2 or 3 innings. And then he fielded a grounder cleanly in like the 3rd or 4th inning. And it was the first one that he'd gotten that he had botched. And people started cheering. That's kind of funny. But
sarcastic cheering is always going to be funny.
if you're Alec Bohm, though, I understand how that can like hurt your feelings, right? And especially in the heat of the moment, you know what I mean? Like it'd be one thing if he carried a grudge, but just in the heat of the moment, he was bummed out about it. I understand, right? If I were at work and somebody started roasting me, I can understand getting upset.
Yeah, let's say that you've accidentally put too much espresso in 3 straight coffees.
Right. People might think that I'm bad at my job, which I am.
Yeah. When your workers cheer when you make the 4th one right, you're gonna be like, all right, guys.
Exactly. Yeah, you have to like cool it. Alec Bohm, unfortunately, was caught on live television mouthing the words, "I effing hate this place," referring to Citizens Bank Park and the rough Philadelphia crowds, right?
Yes, Philly in general.
I have lived in the Philadelphia suburbs my whole life. I agree 100% with Alec Bohm's sentiments. I hate Philadelphia. I hate
there's something to that for sure.
I hate the way people treat other people around here. And I'm not one to feel bad for athletes, really, because like it's your job. If you get booed, you get booed. But I understand that it's not his favorite place to work. It's a work environment, and he doesn't like the work environment. I understand. Here's the point. What I'm getting at. Alec Bohm was caught on TV saying that. Immediately, everybody came out of the woodwork. I don't think Philly's the place for him. If he can't handle it, he shouldn't be playing in Philadelphia. If this is how he's going to be after 3 hour night, how's he? Whatever. People are silly. It's Twitter. You know what I mean? It's a cesspool.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, people started jumping on him. Okay, whatever. It's not that big of a story. However, what happened was, obviously in the locker room after the game, a reporter came up to him and basically asked him, Alec, what happened? And to his credit, Alec Bohm's 25 years old. He's the same age as me, right? Alec Bohm had a camera in his face on national television. And he went, I'm sorry. I don't have the quote in front of me, but essentially what he said was, I said something in the heat of the moment. I was just upset. I was having a bad night. These fans deserve better, and they just want us to win. And that was the perfect way to handle it. You know what I mean? He just
I might refer to that as poise.
Exactly. And honestly,
you might call that a class act.
Right, exactly. And he could have made something up and said, no, I hate these plays or something like that. No, I was talking about. He didn't. You know what I mean? He said, I said what I said, and I shouldn't have said. And he's representing his employer, right? He's representing the Philadelphia Phillies on national TV. So even if he doesn't change his mindset or whatever, you shouldn't be saying stuff like that. I get it. You know what I mean? You should say that in the privacy of the clubhouse to another player, something like that. He got busted. That happens. Alec Bohm handled it perfectly. And what was really cool was, it's Philadelphia and people are nuts. And I thought, honestly, that this was going to be the kind of thing where as soon as it happened, it didn't matter what he said after that. People were going to be like, Alec Bohm's terrible. And he hates Philadelphia. And I love Philadelphia. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they were just going to hate him. I got the Philly skyline tattooed on my back, dude. And
exactly.
If Alec Bohm's going to trash that.
Exactly. A bunch of guys that got like the Love Park tattoo right here.
Dude.
Anyway, I thought it didn't matter what he was going to say. And I wrote an article in defense of Alec Bohm that night saying Alec Bohm showed like true integrity. He did the best that he could. He messed up and then he came out and he apologized and he just said he's going to do better. That's all I can ask for. Right. Anyway, I thought I was going to be speaking to the void. The next day, Joe Girardi gave Alec Bohm the night off. I understand. He had a 3-error night. Okay, let him clear his head. He played Johan Camargo. Alec Bohm pinch hit later in the game and he got a standing ovation. That's awesome, Tom. And I will never say that I'm proud to be from Philadelphia because I hate Philadelphia and I don't want to live here. But that was the closest I've ever come to being like, Philadelphians are being very cool right now.
You guys like how we're burning our bridges with the area that we live? Like, yo, listen, I live in Philly. I hate everybody here. Just so you know, if you live here, like if you thought you were one of my friends and you live in Philadelphia, you're not. Like, we're coming with that energy. And then we're like, yeah, but they clapped for a guy.
Really, though, I was very impressed. And I don't know how this is going to affect Alec Bohm moving forward. I don't know if he has the right mindset to play in Philadelphia, Tom. And frankly, I don't care. I just like that this happened. And I like, honestly, that it worked out for everyone involved. I think that's very nice.
Yeah. And you know what? I have seen people saying, and I agree with this sentiment. I think, was it Selecki who said, I would buy a I effing hate this place t-shirt?
Oh, yeah.
I would buy one of those in a second.
I would totally buy one of those. Who hasn't thought that? And I think it was like John Boy or somebody like that. Maybe it was like a Phillies podcast. I forget. But I heard somebody saying Alec Bohm's at work. You know what I mean? He's at work when he's playing baseball. He's at work, and like he's playing a kid's game. He's getting a lot of money. The point is, he's at work. It's his job. It's his full-time job.
He had a terrible night at work.
Right. Who hasn't been at work and everything's gone wrong? I'm at work and one of the espresso machines goes down and the line's out the door and we run out of all these milks. And I want to kill myself. I hate it. You know what I mean? And I might look at somebody and go, I hate this place. That's what Alec Boehm did. Everybody's done that. You know what I mean?
Dude, I used to work in a pharmacy, and I had it one day where I went in and I was just like, dude, I am not having this. I don't want to be here. It's like 7:00 in the morning. I used to work at Rite Aid, and I told myself I wasn't going to do pharmacy again, but like it pays better than the other stuff I was looking at. So here we are. This morning that I was there, I was getting all these sweet old ladies who just wanted to be like, I just really want to thank you for working, through the pandemic. And I was just looking at them and being like, next. And they're like, you guys are really just doing the Lord's work. Next. I was like the soup Nazi, dude, I was not having it. I was actually intentionally being mean to customers.
Nice.
And it's like, talking about it in this light, like I almost feel like Alec Boehm was doing that, except all the customers are in the crowd and he's not going to talk to them.
He was just pissed off.
Yeah, and he just walked past one of his coworkers who hasn't shredded the people, the fans, the customers.
Like, gosh, yeah.
Like when you walk back behind, like back where the office is at Starbucks, if you walk past like somebody that and you're in a bad mood and you like make eye contact with them and they are too, you're gonna be like, oh, dude, this place. That's the same thing. It's just that
Absolutely.
We don't make
it's like
dollars a night.
It's like in the Bible when they bring the adulterous woman in front of Jesus and he goes, let he who is without sin cast the first stone.
Yeah, there we are. Yeah. See,
like,
this is a religious podcast now.
Yeah, I was gonna say it doesn't like whether or not you're Christian or whatever. That's such a good like way to, you know what I mean, of being like, all right, we've all done the exact same thing. Let it go.
Can we talk about how Jesus dropped some hot lines?
Yeah,
like that one. Was it the remove the log from your own eye before you criticize the speck in another's? Yeah. By the way, Buddha, Jesus, and like Confucius, arguably the top 3 MCs of all time.
Float machines.
So Ethan, let me ask you this. Is there anything special going on in this week's podcast? Is there any reason to be here that our fans should know about?
So really what you're asking is, if you're someone listening, why would you stick around if it's just us?
Right. Because obviously if it's just us, you're like, all right, listen, I got other podcasts.
We're not people you want to listen to. Funny you should say that, Tom. Today's guest on the Baseball Podcast is a guy named Paul Convoy. Paul Convoy, Tom, and audience, is the president of Baseball Scotland. He's been the head coach of the Scottish national team for a long time. And he basically is just a central figure in Scottish baseball culture. And so we reached out to Paul. He very graciously agreed to come on the podcast. And we're going to have a really cool chat just about the baseball culture in Scotland, how Paul grows the game there. Also, Paul's journey into being a baseball fan and a Phillies fan in particular.
Right, which we can relate to, again.
We can absolutely relate to. And we're going to talk to him just about how he's growing the game, what he sees coming up in the future, how it's changed just in his time in his position as president of Baseball Scotland. And also, if you can help out, they're accepting donations of equipment, obviously of money, of things like that. So if you just want to reach out on Baseball Scotland on Baseball or Twitter, they're more than happy to talk to you about, setting up shipping. And the most important thing, I said this later, I'm going to say it again. If you give money or equipment to Baseball Scotland, it's not just helping guys play on a Saturday morning and have fun. It's helping people who don't know anything about baseball, or very little at least, learn the game of baseball. And I think that's really important to do, because here in America, everybody grows up with baseball. Everybody grows up with equipment. In Scotland, it's not so easy. It's hard to get. It's really expensive. So if you guys can do anything to help out, I'm going to try and send them some stuff. If you guys can, just have some stuff, like some balls lying around, reach out to Paul, see if he can set something up.
So what you're saying is that baseball in Scotland is sort of baseball's young and we need to incubate it. That's what you're saying.
Yes, that's exactly right. Baseball is in a petri dish in Scotland, and we're responsible for helping it grow.
It's a beautiful egg, and we need to help it to hatch.
It is. So anyway, no one's interested in just us talking about Paul. Let's get Paul on the show to speak for himself. Here it is. I hope you guys enjoy. Paul Convoy, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Welcome aboard, Paul.
Why don't we just start off? Why don't you tell us what you do with Baseball Scotland?
Hey, so So my name is Paul Convoy. I am the current head of Baseball Scotland and the league president of the Scottish National Baseball League.
So, Paul, I talked to you in the past, and but for our listeners, how would you describe baseball in Scotland, in terms of interest, in terms of people, playing and all of that?
We are a very niche sport, as you can imagine.
Right, yeah, and that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Scotland's predominantly football and rugby based. Anything else other than kicking a ball seems to be a little bit difficult to get into, but we're doing our best. We are growing exponentially, it seems, each year.
I like to hear that. That's good news.
Yeah, we're slowly getting there. We've got maybe 50% of the league now, actual Scottish players, as opposed to the other nationality under the sun. But yeah, it's a real community vibe to the league because it is so small, I suppose, is one bonus.
Okay. What's the range of talent level like? Because I imagine if it's got that men's league vibe and you guys are kind of like, it sounds like recruiting is still like a huge priority for you guys. Yeah. There's probably going to be a little bit of like, being that it's in Scotland and it's niche, I'm sure it's like, okay, you're interested in baseball, welcome aboard. I assume you guys are trying to move past that a little bit, but like what's the floor and what's like the ceiling of the talent level over there?
So in years gone past, we've had just a full mix of teams. If you have played baseball in the past, welcome. If you want to play baseball, welcome. But this year we've just branched out into what we're calling a AAA league and a single A league to try and match the rest of the UK. And we have players playing at our AAA level that are former college level or even former draft picks that have been like, there's a player in Edinburgh, Luis Marino, who was drafted by the Brewers a while back before he had a motorcycle accident. So there's some serious players here. But then, of course, we have complete rookies who have just picked up a baseball and a bat at the age of 30 in Scotland, saying, I like this sport, can I play? And that's what single A league's for. And it's so far, it's been a real success. I think we've got a proper competitive league now. And we're also allowing brand new players to come in and pick up the sport for the first time. It's great.
Mm-hmm. Do you throw all these people onto the same field and just kind of say like, all right, figured out? Or do you have like training sessions or things like that to get people interested? Because you said people just pick up a bat for the first time. Do you show them how to play it all beforehand? Or do you just kind of put them on the field and say, let's see what happens?
I kind of mix of both.
Right.
We have training sessions, but with the Scottish weather, it can be tricky.
Right.
And because of that, we only play like between 16 and 20 games a year. We only play on Sundays. It's difficult to get a player game time. So as soon as they are able to not take a fly ball to the face or a sharp ground ball to the shins, and collapse on the field, we let them get a chance.
Okay.
And so far, it's paying off.
Yeah. So when I was running my league, I don't run it anymore. I play for a different team now. I play for the Minutemen, this team. But like we had a lot of the same thing. And what I liked was when you could watch somebody go from, like, we had a couple of guys who would come in and you're like, oh my God, dude, does this guy like know how to play baseball? Like he's like got a left hand glove and he's left-handed and you're like, geez, dude, like that's no, get the other one. That sort of thing. And we would watch these guys mature into like actual good players. And I thought it was really gratifying.
Yeah.
I assume you've probably had at least one or two guys who it turns out like, oh, you actually have like a lot of talent for this sport and just nobody showed you.
Yeah, absolutely. That is one of the most rewarding things about the position I'm in, is seeing these players grow. We've had a kid, he was granted, he's not Scottish, he's Venezuelan by birth. Right. But he came up here with his parents. His father was a former draft pick, I believe, for the Mariners before serious injury. This kid went to school in Fife in Scotland. He played on the men's team in Edinburgh at the age of 14, up to the age of 14, I think. And then Scottish education kind of got a bit dull for him. So he managed to get a place in a school in Florida. And then he got drafted to the major leagues with the Padres last year. He's deferred back to college for another year, and he's now projected to be a third-round draft pick next year.
That's awesome.
Wow.
So that's really cool.
So,
So more
so he was like
Scottish
trained and developed in Scotland. Is that what you're saying?
No, no, it's always that's all genetics, I think.
Well, you still
But
credit for it.
but like,
yeah.
if you can get that guy on Team Scotland, though, I mean, that's an asset at that point.
Absolutely, yeah. We had him in a tournament in Belfast representing Scotland, so we've claimed him. He played for the GB national team in the European Championships this year as well, so GB have claimed him too.
For the World Baseball Classic, there's a team Great Britain, right? So, hypothetically, would Scottish players go to that team, or is there a Scotland specific team? Like there's an Ireland specific team? Like, how does that work?
No, players that play in Scotland are still eligible for the Great Britain national team. We have one player based up here who played in the under-23 team in the summer. Ren Quantrill, he's phenomenal. He actually turned up in Edinburgh. I've never played before at the age of 15. And then by age 20, he was being considered for GB national team. So
right.
He's another success story. He's a phenomenal athlete.
I assume that, like we're kind of saying, that a lot of the guys that you have on Team Scotland who are sort of like up there in talent, I assume that like Great Britain is after them when like, world stuff comes around, like the World Baseball Classic. Are you guys angling to try to like get into qualifiers at some point? Is that your like end goal here?
A Scottish team will never make it that far.
No,
because we do affiliate with Team GB. We recognise GB as the national team, and they're just off the qualifying level for the World Baseball Classic.
Right.
So if I could ask, just because I got a little confused. So what you're saying, I want to make sure I got it right. What you're saying is, if let's say Scotland next year produced 10, major league caliber players, right? They would then go to Team Great Britain. You wouldn't form your own Scottish. Okay. I just want to make sure. Now that makes sense. So so what is the goal then in terms of? Because I know that in the past you've said that you're the coach of the Scottish national team. Does that just mean you go and play tournaments as Scotland and then work as sort of a feeder up to the Great Britain team if that's the case?
Exactly. Okay. We done it the Scottish national team to garner local interest and national interest because Scottish people are very proud to be called Scottish. So they get more potential sponsors and media attention if we say the Scottish national team.
Right.
That makes sense.
What I want to ask is this a situation where like you guys could assert yourselves as like a national team and you just have chosen not to? Or is it like a issue with like where, Scotland is technically part of the United Kingdom, so, it doesn't work like that?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a hot topic in this country, but we are.
I know,
currently still part of Great Britain. Yeah.
So, what is the baseball infrastructure like in Scotland then, Paul? Like, just in terms of like fields to play on, gloves and bats to use, that kind of thing.
We have a diverse mix, and as I say, in the especially the last 5 years, the infrastructure really progressed exponentially. We've now got proper diamonds to play on with. Dirt infields, but not dirt infield, but at least base paths.
Yeah.
In first base, a proper bound, dirt at home plate, that kind of stuff. Edinburgh's still lacking in that. The council are causing me grief. But the rest of the country, we've only got like 4 fields. One in Edinburgh, one in Glasgow, one in Aberdeen, and one just outside Dundee.
Okay.
So we have 4 clubs, but within those 4 clubs, there's 10 teams. So it's, it comes and goes a little bit.
Wait, 10 teams on each like club, or is it 10 teams total?
10 teams total, yeah.
Okay. So
that's like, not a half bad league, though. Honestly,
250 players, right? Something like that. Like over 200.
Yeah, I mean, once you take people who are no longer playing,
that's honestly pretty comparable to a lot of the like local leagues around here. Like it's pretty much the same arrangement.
Yeah.
The United States being like a whole lot bigger than Scotland, right. I would assume that like in terms of like the area that you guys represent with that league, it sounds like it's a surprisingly kind of robust situation.
Yeah, we're doing all right. Thankfully.
I like to hear that.
So one of the things that I want to ask you about, Paul, I heard you on ball caps and bagpipes.
Yeah, Bobcats and Bagpipes.
Oh, that's a good
Sorry.
name.
Yeah, it's a good name. I heard you on there, and you're talking about your end of season awards for the Scottish baseball league that you run. And one of the things I thought was interesting was you have a lot of women in your league, which a lot of people like. I mean, I wouldn't have thought that initially. How many women do you have, and how has that gone?
We've never excluded anyone from playing baseball in Scotland. It's Baseball Scotland's mission statement is that if you want to play, you get to play, regardless of sex, race, disability, anything. We'll find a way to get you to play baseball if you want to play.
Right.
And we have had some extremely talented women enter this league that it's hard to deny them the opportunity to play and perform. I mean, the Gold Glove shortstop this year in the league was Marina De Angelis, a Canadian who's living up in Dundee.
Okay.
Plays with Taiport Breakers, and she was a close running for league MVP as well. And she's an absolutely phenomenal player. And we've had other women who's just come and went in the league that have always shown a bit of talent. And we're sending players down to the GB women's team.
Well, that's great.
Formed officially last year. So
do these women just pick it up, or do they come from like a softball background?
A bit of both.
Okay.
It's a little bit of both. And because we've actively advertised that women are part of the league, and we're trying to set up our own women's teams, to create a women's league, just for them to feel a bit more comfortable to play, we get a lot more interest now.
Right.
And that's good.
So let me ask you this: about a year ago, maybe a little more than that, the president or whatever of Baseball Great Britain, I forget exactly his title, but Jerry Perez got in a lot of hot water because there was this advertisement, I guess, for lack of a better term, that was put out, like trying to get women into baseball in the UK, and it had like a topless woman from behind, right? And it was like in bad taste, right? And so that was sort of a media firestorm,
right?
Did that have any ill effects on baseball in Scotland or the UK as a whole that you know of?
I don't know if it had as bad an ill effect as it could have had.
Right.
We certainly didn't see an impact up in Scotland other than people being rather annoyed by it.
Right.
And a little bit upset. And we threw our support right behind the women that play the game who were upset. And rightfully so, the advert that was put out by the British Baseball Federation president at the time, it was in very bad taste. And he apologised for it, but he's since stepped down and been replaced. And it's probably right to do so.
Right. That kind of sounds like one of those things where it's like, I'm not sure why he thought that was necessary.
Right.
Like, there's a million different ways you could go with that ad.
Well, and I think
that sounds like a beer commercial.
Anyway, we can go back to the good things about baseball in the UK. So, have you seen it grown? I mean, obviously, you said it has been growing, but how has that gone? Well, first of all, let me ask you this: how long have you been in the position that you are in Baseball Scotland, and then how has it grown in your time there?
Yeah, so I took over the league presidency probably officially in 2019.
Okay.
Maybe I was integrating into it in 2018. But 2019 was my official first year as head of the league. Since my time, I've managed to hold an international tournament because we had the AAU from the USA come over.
Okay.
Play alongside a team from the north of England, an all-star team, and all-star Latino team from the southeast of England. Or southwest.
Really?
Yes, my apologies. The southwest. And we had a little 4-team tournament. And we had spectators out with hot dogs going. It was a fantastic event. We called it the Bobby Thompson Invitational.
Oh, that's a good marketing. I like it.
Staten Island Scott, right?
Yeah. As I say, this year, COVID affected us in 2020 as it did everybody.
Yeah.
In 2021, we started off the beginnings of a possible lower division to try and separate the elite players we've got and the players are just looking to learn the game and not be as intense with these guys that are super competitive. And that went well. So we then this year started the AAA and Single A divisions. So far we're in week 3 coming up. And so far it's been very well received. And just seeing the sort of more professional look to the game. I'm trying to bring that to my time in charge here. Proper rules, proper etiquette. Proper umpires.
When you say like a more professional look, I'm gonna pull from my experience in like building up a team here and see if maybe it was like the same thing. Because what I remember is as our team got better, we started bringing better players and everything. Yeah. There hit a point where we were kind of like, oh, this actually kind of more closely resembles like when people who actually know what they're doing play baseball.
Yes.
You know, like routine plays generally get made.
That's ideal.
You know, it's not like wild pitches every other pitch. Yeah. Like, do you guys have that effect where you're like, oh, this is starting to kind of resemble like, you know, when I watch a game on TV, like it's not the same speed, but it sort of looks like that.
Yeah, especially at the AAA level. I think we've managed to retain some players that might have just came along and left had it not been that level.
Right, yeah.
Because, you know, if you've played at a high level in the States and you come over here and see us, you know, just fluffing every ground ball, not being able to turn ground, double plays and stuff like that, you kind of get a little bit dismayed, I think.
That happens over here too. Like like I've played on some teams that were like, I like to, when I join a league, I like to just join a team where I'm going to get to play because, you know, I'm less worried about winning a title and more worried about like, I like playing baseball, so I'm going to go out there and do it.
That's exactly
which means you end up on a lot of like, you know, bottom 3 teams in the league. And I've joined new teams a lot. And yeah, like you get guys who are like super good who get in on that team and then they start to lose and like make errors. And the guys are like, all right, I'm going to go join a different team. Yeah, I'm getting out of here. Yeah. It happens over here too. Like when guys know what they're doing and they're surrounded by guys who don't, they start to peel off. Yeah. So it definitely helps to like raise, like it's kind of like the rising tide lifts all ships sort of thing.
Exactly.
Right. So those guys will stick better when you get like generally better games.
That was the whole point with the 2 divisions is, you know, there's room for both type of players in Scotland.
Right.
They really want to win and drive for championships, and the ones that just want to come out and have fun and play baseball.
Right. So you're having like a little bit of a snowball effect, getting like better players. I assume at some point you get guys who like maybe their friends also play at like a similar level.
That's it. Yeah, we compete in UK championships as well. So that's the ultimate goal for us.
I know you just said you want to compete for UK championships, but I guess for baseball in Scotland as a whole, like the baseball culture, you know, what would you like to see happen?
Just, I suppose, keep on this trajectory that we're on, that we are raising the level of play. We're getting more people playing the game. Hopefully we get a few more clubs starting up in different parts of the country. More fields to play on is always a good thing. And hopefully we can start generating some proper sponsorship to develop some of the talents that we have got here. Just need a little bit extra coaching, and we've had offers from some coaches over in the States to come over. If we can just help them with airfare, they'll happily come over and pay their own digs and stuff. But we can't even offer them help with that just yet. So,
So has that happened at all? Have you had any, you know, professional or college level coaches or anything?
A while back, we had a couple come over, but as of yet, we've not had any recently. There's one in particular, Joe Spurley. He's really keen to come over and help. He's actually helped a couple of our players who've been over in the States. One's actually over just now training with him.
Okay,
he's really good. But he's hoping to come over at some point. But if we can just help with the costs of that, that'd be good. So by generating a higher level of play, we hope to generate some more sponsors, which brings extra income, which means we can then afford to bring these guys over and coach our players, and then just reach that next again level. You know, so that's the goal here.
Somebody like me, like what can I do to help? You know, is there somewhere to donate? Can I send equipment? You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, the easy thing to do is reach out to Baseball Scotland on social media. We will happily take any donations at all of equipment. The import costs do literally cripple us. I mean, we're just looking at baseballs to play the league this year, and it was something like £350 just for game balls to play. And we're only using 3 balls a game.
Right.
You know, we've really got to try and save as much money as we can because we're player funded.
Yeah.
We have to pay membership fees, and then of course on top of that you've got insurance, your uniform costs, your glove, your bat, everything. It all piles up. So we are happy with any any donations and any
Right.
money or equipment. But we do also have all the teams are able to sell merch if you contact the teams directly. There's no online store yet, but if you reach out to one of our teams, they'll happily send you over a cap and a jersey, I think, for some monetary.
Right.
Like, do you just reach out on like Facebook Messenger or something, or is there a website to go to find the teams and like take a look at the hats, that kind of thing?
The best way is just reach out on social media, Baseball Scotland on Facebook or Twitter.
Okay.
The teams we have in Edinburgh, it's the Edinburgh Cannons, the Edinburgh Diamond Devils, the Edinburgh Knights. There's Glasgow Galaxy, Glasgow Comets, Tayport Breakers, and Aberdeen Baseball Club with the Granite City Oilers.
Now these names sound like they would yield themselves to good merch.
Yeah.
I like the sound of the Galaxy. That was my first.
You can't go wrong with the Knights. You know what I mean? That's
the Knights' new jerseys, when they get finally revealed, it's something spectacular.
Yeah.
But right now, I think the most beautiful jersey we've got in the league belongs to the Glasgow Comets.
What team do you play for?
I used to play for the Edinburgh Giants, but since I stepped down, that team they're transitioning to a juniors team.
Okay.
To try and generate the next crop of
generation of Scottish talent. Okay,
right, so you're more of a talent builder.
I try to be.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, look, it's again, having done like the whole run a league thing myself, you need somebody who's going to go out there and find people, because I'm sure, especially in Scotland, they're not just going to come out of the woodwork that often.
No.
So you do have to kind of go out there and find them and build them up. So that's probably the most important role in something like Scotland national baseball right now.
Yeah.
Would be my assumption anyway.
Finding talent.
So what are some things, you might have in the works, or just ideas that you have to sort of put Scottish baseball on the map?
The next big thing we're planning is having 3, as I mentioned before, they're not national teams, but we're going to try and call them national teams.
Right.
We're going to have one at each level. So a Scotland single A team, a Scotland double A team, and a Scotland triple A team that can then compete in tournaments in the rest of the UK. There'll be basically league all-star teams at that particular level. And we're going to try and name some of them. So the only one we've got a name for, we've not decided which level it is yet, is the Scottish Werewolves. So we create merch and everything along with that. The reason we've called it the Werewolves is because we're paying tribute to probably the person who's called the grandfather of Scottish baseball. He's a former merchant navy man from Battle Creek, Michigan. He's affectionately known as Wolfie. He's been here for like 50 years. He's put his heart and soul into baseball in this country. He was given the key to the city by the mayor of Battle Creek, Michigan in 2019. That was held
Really?
That's cool.
He's a national treasure.
Now,
so that's the name of the Werewolves for him. But we're needing names for the other 2 teams, so we're going to be launching little competitions and stuff to try and name the teams.
Is it too cliche to suggest like the Claymores? Is that too cliche?
We had this discussion when we were trying to name the Edinburgh Knights as the newest team this year.
Right.
It was an old European football team.
Oh yeah, wait, we know about them.
NFL Europe, right?
Yeah.
That disaster.
So have you had any players actually go up into the Great Britain national team?
I mentioned Ryan Control he went to the under-23s in the summer, and then Gabriel Rincones, who was the young starlet. He played the GB national team in the summer as well, the European Championships.
If there's a player talented enough in Scotland, do you think he would be able to make it into a major league system?
I think so, yeah. So when they get down to the GB level, especially under 18 and under 23, there is links to colleges there. They've got a lot of players that play in colleges that play for the GB team as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if the talent's there, I do believe it'll get spotted by someone that's paying attention, because there's got to be college scouts and stuff that go over to these tournaments in Europe and stuff, because we've seen it with Irish players and other European players.
Right.
They're slowly getting picked up by the major league draft system. So
this is a little bit of a guess on my part, and I don't know how big cricket is in Scotland, but I assume that like if there's a big cricket base there, even a little bit, there's got to be some crossover in the like skill set, right?
Yeah.
So do you guys look to pull from like what are they called? Cricketers? Is that the right term?
I hope they are. I hope they are. Is that what they're called?
I have no idea. I kind of want it to be the case, though.
I feel like they're not called cricket players. I feel like they're called cricketers or cricketers.
I don't know. Well, like, I know in Australia they call them baseballers. They don't call them.
The important part of the question though is like, do you guys look at like cricket players like we can turn these guys into baseball players a little more easily than like just some guy?
Soccer players.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Football.
Oh yeah, football. I apologize.
Right people up.
Right.
There's definitely a crossover. Especially in the throwing arm. That's the big one.
I believe that.
Throws,
I believe that.
Yeah.
Somebody throwing I imagine cricket bowlers could probably make for pretty good pitchers without a whole lot of changes.
Yeah. Yes,
So,
doesn't take much.
yeah. What got you into baseball? Because I can't imagine being like, living in Scotland and somehow discovering baseball. So like, I want to know like what got you to the point where you are. What made you the man you are today, Paul?
It's a strange story. So when I was a student, as you can probably tell just now, I mean, my time here, it's 11:10 at night.
Right.
I'm a bit of a night owl. So I would usually get home for the pub or whatever, and I'd stick on TV and there'd be a baseball game on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fascinated me. I took great joy in watching the pitchers, especially throw the ball, and I enjoyed watching it. But I could never pick a team because there was a lot of Yankees games on, obviously. But
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
but it was hard to pick a team to follow because we only got the random games. And then about 13 or 14 years ago, I did a rally down the East Coast in a $500 car. The starting point was meant to be New York, but it ended up being in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. So we had a baseball game, and I said the team that wins this game is going to be my team to follow. Mm-hmm. It was Philadelphia.
that was a good year to pick that to be a Phillies fan. That was back when the Phillies were really good.
Yeah, it was the year after the World Series win, which was good.
Oh man, they were good that year too.
Yeah, we kind of missed those years over here in Philly.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while.
I actively long for being that excited about the Phillies. Like I remember sitting there when the Phillies would be like down in the 8th inning, it's like 5-3 or whatever. And I remember sitting there and being like, you can't count this team out. Like the Phillies are legitimately good at making comebacks. Nowadays, it's more like, their bullpen's going to give up 6 runs in the top of the 9th. So like, turn it off.
So I think the game I went to see, it was Halliday that was pitching.
Good choice.
I went from being a guy who enjoyed watching baseball to being an absolute fan of baseball, just in that one game.
Mm-hmm.
It was a masterclass. I loved every second of it. Yeah. So sellout crowd. We went to the bar underneath Citizens Bank Park, and because we had Scottish accents, we were treated like royalty. It was just a great experience, and that made me fall in love with the ball club and the sport.
That's the origin story.
Yeah, that's the origin story.
So then how did that translate over to Scotland? Like, how did you get involved in your home country?
I came back from that trip, and I tried to organise a company softball game for the business I worked for.
Mm-hmm.
And I was put in touch by Edinburgh Council with the Edinburgh Baseball Club, since they felt softball and baseball kind of matched. And then that's how I got involved in the baseball club. I went along. I was invited down for a practice. I was decent-ish.
Okay.
And of course, with the mission statement, everybody can play, I got an opportunity.
Right.
Went from playing in the Edinburgh Giants team to then managing the Edinburgh Giants team. And then from managing the Edinburgh Giants team, I went to running the league. Sort of slow progression from there.
So you're kind of like the ultimate grassroots president then.
Right. Yeah, I like to think so.
Right. Okay. Well, listen, I mean, yeah, again, there's a lot of similarities between this and like the league that I helped run for a long time. Like it really is kind of like it's almost entirely passion based.
Yeah.
Because they're like, I was running a men's league, and there's no money in that. You're not doing that because you're getting cut a fat check at the end of the year. You're doing it because you love the game, and that I think that we've established that you love the game a lot, especially since you're trying to bring it overseas, which is something I never tried. So you got something special going on over there. Let's put it that way.
So, Paul, is there anything you would like people to know about baseball in Scotland that I haven't thought to ask?
I don't know. We're a passionate bunch, as Tom said. I mean, the whole reason we do this is because we love the sport. It was one of the things that was mentioned by the coaches of the AAU when they came over. They came over twice back to back because they loved their passion for the sport. I mean, we take a grass field and turn it into a baseball field every Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of stuff, it's really worth paying attention, I think, to the Scottish League and the British League as a whole. It's a growing movement. And we're starting to stream games. We're starting to
really
where can people find that?
Right now it's on our social media pages, especially the Facebook page. We stream the games through Facebook. It's through a French company's system. We streamed their postseason final last year.
Okay. So
we got to watch one of those, by the way.
We do. We should have like a live Baseball Scotland, right, on Facebook?
Yeah, Baseball Scotland on Facebook. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a growing league. Hopefully, we'll be streaming a lot more games coming up.
Absolutely.
And just keep an eye on us.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
You know what the worst part about this is? Now, if I ever find myself in Scotland, I have to bring my baseball stuff with me.
100%.
Absolutely.
Let me
ask you this, Paul. Because I was thinking about this the other day, I got a bunch of balls lying around the house and like old like fungo bats and stuff that I'm never going to use. And honestly, kids around here don't really need, because you can go to the sporting goods store and buy a bucket of balls for like a couple bucks. But in Scotland, that's like gold, like you said. If people, let's say I go to my mom's house and my aunts and everything, I collect up all the balls and everything I get. Can I hit up Baseball Scotland and say, hey, I got all the stuff, I'll send it to you. Can you cover the shipping costs or whatever? Like, is that something that you guys are, okay with?
Yeah, we've got a hookup with one of the guys that's on the Ball Caps and Bagpipes podcast he mentioned earlier. He's got a hookup for his business of baseball memorabilia, basically. So you can help out with some of the shipping arrangements.
Really?
Okay. So if people have stuff lying around they can give to you, they can basically send it to you for free, is what we're saying?
Absolutely. Yeah, we will shout out any business or person that needs that's sending us over stuff as a thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
So for everybody that's listening, Baseball Scotland on Facebook, just message Paul, see if you can set up, sending some stuff over. Like, I'm thinking right now in my head about a couple of bats that I have.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. And like some balls. I'll send you some Philly stuff too. I got like a Jamie Moyer autograph ball. It's all yours.
Oh, dude.
So anyway, whoever's listening, hit up Paul on Baseball Scotland, send them some stuff. It'll go to a good cause. And the way that I think about it, Paul, is I could give it to my nephew and he'll break it. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's 4 years old. He'll break a baseball bat, or he'll play baseball for a couple times and then he'll go, this is stupid, because he's an American kid. He'll go, it's boring. You know what I mean?
Or if he likes it, he can just get better stuff.
That's true. Or if he likes it, it's cheap enough here. If I send you stuff that's teaching people that don't know what baseball is, how to play baseball, and that's a noble goal. You know what I mean?
Instead of going to your 4-year-old nephew, you'd go to a 40-year-old Scotsman who'll likely break it.
Exactly. Yeah. So let me ask you this, Paul. Have your efforts, in Baseball Scotland and playing these games, I don't want to say pickup games because that's not really the right word, but these semi-formal, I guess, right?
Amateur games.
Amateur games. Thank you.
Yeah.
Has that translated into any interest in Major League Baseball? Do people that do they start watching Major League Baseball now, or do they just like going out on a Saturday morning and playing?
It's usually the other way around. They've got an interest in Major League Baseball, so they then come and play.
Okay.
Oh, all right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
How do Scotland get into Major League Baseball?
I think it's like the same way I did. It's just seeing it late night TV, or going on holiday to America and catching a game and getting that baseball fever.
Okay.
We have a lot of Blue Jays fans in Scotland.
Oh, I like the Blue
I
Jays.
wonder why.
This is ties to Canada. There's a lot of Scottish people who emigrated to Canada and family over there, so they go and catch a Blue Jays game. And for their better days, the Rays get a lot of attention as well because of holidays to Florida. So,
right.
Okay.
If you get the odd Twins fan, you're like, who the hell are you a Twins fan?
Yeah, the Rays and the Blue Jays are good outreach teams, though, at least in my opinion, because the Blue Jays have been a lot of fun when they're good. And the Rays are kind of like I don't want to call them the thinking fans team, but like they're sort of like
kind of, yeah. I actually see that.
They're the scrappiest team in the league because their payroll's like $8.
You know,
but they're so good at what they do that they manage to be competitive anyway.
Everybody loves Moneyball and the rookie and that kind of thing. I mean, everybody loves an underdog. And the Rays, it's their owner's fault because he's cheap, but they are an underdog. With the guys on the field are underdogs, and it's fun. It's fun to watch. So you're right. Let me ask you this, Paul. When Major League Baseball, I know they've done it in the past, and I think they scheduled it for the next couple of years to do a couple of series in London and also in Paris, which is cool too, but that's a separate issue. But when they schedule games in London, do you or anybody else that you know go, or does that, I guess what I'm asking is, does that sort of spike any interest in Scotland or the UK in general?
Yeah, I think it did. After the Yankees and Red Sox series in London, probably half of the Scottish League went down to those games.
Really?
Yeah, I was down there for the 3 days. I got in the day before for the batting practice as well.
That's so cool.
And it was different. To call them regular games is a bit. I mean, they were so high scoring and so long, and it's probably the hottest it's ever been in the UK for that weekend as well. I remember just sweating a lot. It was really fun. It was great to see on UK soil. The teams put a lot of effort into the local area in London. And they worked closely with BSUK, which is the sports development agency here in the UK. And because it was on TV and in the press, we did get a lot more people inquiring about playing up and down the country. I think if you were to tally it up, I think maybe got like 15 new players across the league.
That's a come up,
doesn't sound
dude.
a lot, but
that's a whole team.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I would assume that the future series, because I think they're scheduled 3 or 4 more, right, in the next 5 years. I would assume that's only going to do more to help baseball in the UK, right?
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in the background as well that I'm probably not allowed to discuss for legal reasons, but non-disclosure and such. But there's MLB's done a little bit more for British baseball off the back of these as well. So.
That's great.
Good.
That's got to be cool. Like, like to me, like if I was over there, that's like a once in a lifetime thing. Like, listen, I like baseball. I live in Scotland. The Yankees and the Red Sox are coming to London. I'm also going to London. Like you're on the phone with your boss. Like I'm not taking no for an answer. I need off that day because that was the first time they went over there, right? Like this is a very new thing. So yeah, I mean there had to have been like the possibility that it wasn't going to happen again. So it's got to be like, nope, I'm going.
That was definitely the mindset. I mean, when they announced the Cubs Cardinals for 2020 as well, and COVID obviously ruined that.
Right.
We in the UK thought that was it. That's our chance gone. They'll probably go somewhere else next year. So when they announced the Cubs Cardinals coming back in 2023 and this strange home run X thing that they're showcasing across Europe and other countries, that's obviously going to happen this year. And I know there's a lot of interest in it just because it's baseball. Right. It's MLB doing something baseball related in the UK. So the MLB community of fans here in the UK are still excited about it, even though it's not an actual game.
Right.
It's quite good to see.
It's got to be. It's like the World Series, though. Like drop everything. Home run X is coming.
Not quite there, but yeah.
Let me ask you another question, Paul. I don't know if you're involved with the Great Britain national team at all, but the World Baseball Classic qualifiers are coming up, right? And I don't think Great Britain is involved this time, but they've been involved in the past. And like you said, they're sort of on the fringes of being a qualifier team. Let's say a few years down the line, they end up making it to the World Baseball Classic. What do you think that does for baseball in the UK?
I think it'll be a wonderful thing. I mean, if I know it is the goal for the GB national team to get there, it absolutely is. That is the mission. I know the head coach he's so focused on doing it, but not only doing it, but doing it with players that were originally at some point based in Britain. Right. Rather than just pulling people with a British passport from some club in the States, he's trying to do it from players that were at least homegrown a little bit before they went off to better coaching.
Right.
It's great to see. The whole GB mindset is so positive, and I do believe they will make the qualifiers. Hopefully next year, they'll qualify for the qualifiers. If you know what I mean?
Right.
That'd be wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
So, are you involved with Great Britain baseball, the Great British national team? Wow.
No.
Are you involved with the Great Britain national team at all?
No. I've not got any links to that at all. No, not at all. No.
Right. So you're just a fan at that point.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, but I think it's probably safe to say that Great Britain's success is your guys' success in this field. So you have a connection in that sense, that if they start making qualifiers and playing well, I mean, you said you got 15 new players when the Yankees and the Red Sox went over. Even if you got like 10 new players, like again, that's almost an entire team. Like that's not a small addition at all,
Yeah.
So
having the GB guys on the world stage would definitely help British baseball, and as part of that, Scottish baseball.
Right, the knock-on effect, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what do you think is the most important thing that we, as Americans or wherever people are that are listening? What do you think is the most important thing that we can learn talking to you about baseball in Scotland and the UK? Like, what do you think is the biggest takeaway here?
Just that the game is played in other places to a relatively high standard as well. We're getting better. We're getting more people playing. It's not just in the UK; it's right across Europe. Some of the talent that's coming out of these places is going to surprise people. I think it's definitely worth the attention if you're a baseball fan.
Yeah. Absolutely. So are there any young Scottish or, English players too that you think people should keep their eye on?
As I say, Gabriel Rincones, keep an eye on him in the draft next year. Ren Quantrill, he's a young starlet we've got, and there's a kid called Connor Smith. He's currently over in the States training with Joe Spurley in Arizona. So he's coming back now.
Okay.
So those are your big three?
That's the big three, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well,
I want to go play baseball Scotland. Like, if I didn't have anything better to do and I could just get a ticket and go over there, I'd be like, hey, how many games you guys playing?
Oh my gosh, how much fun would that be? Yeah. So, all right, hopefully we can see those three guys, or one of them at least in the big leagues someday. That'd be super cool. So, all right, Paul, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much, man.
If people can help, or even just want to show support or check out your games on streaming Baseball Scotland on Facebook, right? Anywhere else?
Baseball Scotland on Twitter as well. And I believe we have an Instagram somewhere by our social media manager.
All right. So Facebook and Twitter are the big ones. When does your season start?
We started at the beginning of April.
Oh, okay. So you guys are in season.
Yeah, this weekend is going to be week 3.
And how long does it go?
We play right up until the end of August before the postseason's in September.
Okay, so it's a nice long season. All right, so everybody should go check it out on Baseball Scotland on Facebook. And if anybody can help with donations or anything, that's the place to go.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right, you've been great, Paul. Thanks for. Is there anything else you want to say?
Thank you so much, dude.
No, thanks for having me on. It's been
all right. Thanks for coming on the show, Paul. It was a really awesome conversation. We'll definitely have Paul on again to talk about baseball in Scotland and the UK. I really enjoyed it, Tom. How about you?
Dude, it was even more interesting than I expected it to be, especially because, as I'm sure you guys noticed, there were a lot of things that I could relate to in my experience as like an amateur baseball player. Baseball Scotland really kind of sounds like, it has a great deal in common with the amateur baseball experience. So to me, it sounded like what would be happening, like if I was trying to make like a national team. It would be like, hey, listen, we gotta build this from the ground up. When big stuff happens that drives interest in baseball, that's when we're gonna get players. Like there was a lot for me to, I don't want to say sink my teeth into because that sounds weird, but
say it.
There was a lot for me to sink my teeth into, Ethan. So I found it, I knew it was going to be interesting, but I didn't know that it was going to be so relatable. Let's put it that way.
It was super cool. And he's also just an average guy. He's just a regular guy. This isn't something that we asked him about, and we should have, but I remember the last time I talked to Paul, he told me that he was some sort of, I'll have to ask him, but he was some sort of like sewage waste, like consultant, like manager, like that was his job. Like he like worked with like the sewer system, and he's just a dude that likes baseball. And so he got involved. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's like me or you getting involved. Like it's not, a guy who went to school and got some sort of sports management degree or business degree, and this is just another job on his like climb of the corporate ladder. This is a guy who loves baseball and want to get involved, and he did, and he's making it happen. And that's awesome. So again,
it's a little bit of a weird throwback to like the dead ball era too, because you would have those guys who were like, and they're like, yeah, this is Heine Manish. He's the finest third baseman in the entire league. Over here in the American Association, we got Heine Manish, and then it turns out, like during the day, he's like a crane operator.
Yeah, the kind of guy is like, you want to know how he got? Because now it's like, this kid went to this prep school and then he played on this travel team. Back then, it was like, you want to know how this kid got such strong wrists, so he could hold back on a check swing. He milked cows for 12 hours a day.
Yeah, I want to talk about how guys in like the 20s, it would be like, yeah, you won the MVP, so you got like, you got 2 years supply of beef for free.
Yeah,
instead of like nowadays you get like, they're like, oh, you get this car and you're gonna get a merch deal. And back then it was like, hey, you don't have to pay for canned beans for the next 6 years.
You know what it was too? Now it's like you win All-Star Game MVP, they go out and they buy you a new Camaro or something. Back then it was like, oh, great job winning the MVP. You get free lima beans for life, courtesy of this team's owner giving you a gift. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, or like
they had
it would be like, Buford's Cannery has agreed to give the. Sorry, I feel like I have to put the voice on. Like, Buford's Cannery has agreed to give the winner of the Most Valuable Player Award a year's supply of kidney beans. It's like,
yeah, and the other guy is looking at like Vin Scully in the TV, being like, "Wow, what a gift, Vin! I'll tell you." You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's going to be a hotly debated one because
what I wouldn't give for a free supply of lima beans, Vin.
Yeah,
I'll tell you, all 18 players out on the field today, they're going to be fighting their hardest to win this prize.
Yeah, dude, in like the 30s, like everybody was like. They're sitting there and they're like, that guy, that scallywag Babe Ruth keeps winning these awards. He's got enough money to buy beans anytime he wants.
Yeah, he can buy a truckload of kidney beans. He doesn't need that.
Yeah, Mel Ott was sitting there like in the off season. He's hungry and he's like, if I only had one MVP.
Yeah, I should call up Babe, get some of those free Brussels sprouts.
Yeah, Babe Ruth's over there. Babe Ruth, one of the most charmed lives of all time once he became a major league player, by the way.
It was, but then he also died at like 45. It's like,
yeah, he lived hard. And then he died on his own terms.
He really packed a lot into like less than 50 years on this earth. Babe Ruth did like the funniest stuff in the world. He would I think this wasn't exclusive to him, but I think Babe Ruth would like soak cabbage leaves in like cold water and like put them under his hat when he went out to play the outfield because it was like hot out.
That's so old. That's like a Civil War thing.
Also, like if you ever it's already hilarious because the footage is sped up because it's from like 1910. But watching Babe Ruth run the bases is like watching me run the pacer. You know what I mean? Like, dude, Babe Ruth is so funny.
Dude, I like that. Like he literally it's almost like he got good at hitting home runs because he didn't want to run the bases.
Exactly.
He was like, I got two choices: I can run the bases or I can walk the bases.
Like it's so much fun watching like old Babe Ruth stuff though, because like baseball now is just these like super well trained, super well fed, like like baseball players. That's their full time.
They're all jacked.
And if you go back like 50 years, there were guys like Boog Powell or something, who were like, they're country strong, they looked like they pulled a tractor by themselves, until they were 18 years old. But dude, back then it was literally just dudes. You know what I mean? It was just
I would say, I think
like there was no training. It was just guys that rolled out of bed one morning and were like, I think I'll give baseball a crack. Like,
yeah, they were good at swinging a baseball because he chopped wood for a living, and that's why he invented the axe handle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it would be worse than that. It would be like oh, every Sunday afternoon he spent on the banks of the Susquehanna beating out laundry with his mother. That's how he got his stress.
Yeah, and that's where his forearm strength.
Yeah, that's where his stroke came from. That's where his beautiful level swing.
Dude, can we talk about how what we're talking about at its core? What we're saying is that the number of oafs in baseball, the number of people who you would describe as an oaf, has been trending down for years.
And it's a damn shame, Tom.
It really is. Dude, I was wearing my Adam Dunn jersey the other day, and I was like, where's today's Adam Dunn? Is it Miguel Sano?
I feel like the biggest equivalent is like Sano, maybe like Joey Gallo. But I mean, Sano's he's like a beefy guy. But Sano, you could tell, is like a very muscular person who just has like a little bit of padding.
Sano is somebody who I might describe as country strong, arguably an oaf.
He is oafish, but he's got, dude, like, go look at a picture of Boog Powell. You know what I mean? Go look at
absolute oaf.
Like Frank Howard. You know what I mean? Like these guys from like they played on like the Washington Senators.
Like John Kruk.
Oh, yeah. All right, John Kruk is a national treasure, and I'll tell you why. He went, it was in the Phillies booth a couple of days ago, and I forget what he said, but he was talking with Tom McCarthy about something, and he just had it completely wrong. You know what I mean? Like, go, because this pitcher did this or whatever. And Tom McCarthy very nicely was like, oh, I think it was actually the other way around. And Kruk out of nowhere just goes, man, I got to start coming into work sober. And I was like crying, laughing. Kruk's amazing.
That level of honesty is really difficult to find in media in general.
Anybody listening, if they're not from around here and they don't get blacked out, when you're watching MLB TV, please watch the Phillies. If it's Ruben Amaro or Ben Davis or whatever, they're like, fine, don't worry about it. But if you can get a John Kruk game, you gotta watch it. He's really become our Hawk Harrelson. You know what I mean?
No, I think he's more the heir to Gary Matthews.
Oh, Gary Matthews is a good one.
So when we were growing up, right, Gary Matthews was the color commentator. Well, one of the color commentators. Sarge Matthews. Now, he was an ex-Philly. He was a pretty good player. But what he became known for was he just had these weird expressions for everything. Like, I think it was Ralph Kiner said something about how, singles hitters drive Buicks, home run hitters drive Cadillacs. Right. This is back when people actually cared about Cadillacs as opposed to now. And Sarge started calling, when somebody hit a home run, he started calling it Cadillac time. He would just stream of conscious. He would be like, he gets the knob around, he's got his arms extended, he hits that ball, and it's going to go. It's Cadillac time, baby. He was so much character.
My favorite thing that he ever said, I think it was Todd Helton. They were playing the Rockies in Coors, and Todd Helton was just beating up on the Phillies. And he said that Todd Helton's swing sounded like percolating coffee.
What does it mean?
I have no idea.
Percolating coffee?
It's like the funniest thing it's so good. Oh my gosh, dude.
He's kind of like, I feel like Gary Matthews is kind of like if you took Joe Morgan and he was actually entertaining, because he has the same like references where you're like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Folksy wisdom.
But like the difference is like Joe Morgan would go out there and be boring, and he was paired with John Miller, who's actually like a good broadcaster. Right. When they were doing the Giants for a while, they also had, is it Dwayne Kuiper is the Giants guy, who's also really entertaining.
Yeah, they're both.
And then you got Joe Morgan just talking about like, I used to play with this guy, Sean Combs.
B. Diddy?
Yeah. He would just pull these guys out, and then you would look them up, and you're like, this guy's terrible. Why is he talking about how good this guy is? And then he would just, if any of you guys are familiar with Fire Joe Morgan, the old sports blog, it was written by the guy who wrote for The Office, Michael Schur. Hilarious blog, by the way. And he would always go off on Joe Morgan and how the thing he valued more than anything else was people who were consistent. So he would look at like Albert Pujols, and he'd be like, he tries to hit too many home runs. You need to look.
Freaky. You know what
you need to look at somebody like Nafi Perez because he's consistent.
You know,
Nafi Perez was terrible.
Nafi Perez, he doesn't clog the bases.
That's true. Yeah. Oh, that was another one. Yeah.
Dude,
like
I was
Frank
listening
Thomas.
I was watching a Tigers game the other day.
Okay.
Miguel
Featuring
Cabrera.
Spencer Torkelson.
Miguel Cabrera is not particularly good anymore.
Right.
But it's the Tigers. Like, they have worse hitters. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I was watching a Tigers game, and I don't remember who was up. I think it was Austin Meadows or something. Was up. And it was like there was one out, and whoever the commentator was, it was somebody that I didn't recognize.
Mm.
It was one of those young guys who wants to be old. You know how there's a lot of those in baseball?
Oh, yeah.
A lot of 30-year-old commentators who talk like A-Rod does this. They're like 30 years old, and they talk as if they're 80 because they want to like be part of the baseball like old man club.
What? So they come out and they talk about how like, yeah, you got to be choking up on the bat
and stuff, and they're like 45 years old. Anyway, right. This guy, whoever it was, I'll have to look it up. He's talking about it, and he goes, I wouldn't mind seeing the runner on first steal here because, ideally you get a runner in a scoring position, but, if he gets thrown out, there was like 2 strikes on Meadows. He goes, if he gets thrown out and it's strike him out, throw him out, double play, that's not the worst thing in the world because then you can have Miguel Cabrera lead off next inning instead of hitting now and, clock, he kind of clogs the bases. He doesn't run very well.
That's actually it's just wrong.
That hurt my brain.
Yeah, why would you be like, what I'm really hoping for here is getting 2 outs on the same play.
I want extra outs so that I can start next inning in a theoretically more advantageous position. First of all, that's stupid to begin with. Like your idea that that's a better way to start the inning.
Dude, but also, how does Miguel Cabrera not clog the bases when he leads off the inning?
Exactly. But also, more important than that, you love him or hate him. I feel like analytics have definitely taught us that the most important thing in baseball is outs. Like, conserving your outs is the most important thing you can do. That's why nobody bunts anymore. That's not what nobody sacrifices unless it's with a pitcher.
Well, and people still do these things, but they've used the analytics and they get to a point where they know, like, okay, we are going to do this where it's worth the out. Yeah,
this is the time to do it, right?
Like if the pitcher's batting, he's going to get out anyway, so you might as well make the most of it.
Right.
If you have like, if you go out there and you're having some elite hitter, right? Like, oh, let's have Bryce Harper bunt. It's like you're just wasting everybody's time.
Right.
No.
It's rough. Anyway, I just want to get that off my chest.
Thank you guys for listening to the Baseball Podcast. We hope you guys enjoyed our time and your time, really, as fans with Paul Convoy.
And a huge thank you to Paul Convoy for coming on the show. Paul, we'd love to have you on again. I hope everybody enjoyed hearing you chat. And one more time, if you guys want to reach out, Baseball Scotland on Facebook or Twitter, go show them some love. Even just click like on their page and everything, so that way you can check it out once they start streaming their games. Go watch them. So anyway, thanks again to Paul Convoy. It was a great chat, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys next time.
All right. Until then, this is Baseball Podcast, and we're signing off.